The vast majority of individuals will live this life of mediocrity because they just simply care too much. You see, they take life too seriously. And as a result, they care too much about themselves, and they also care too much about other people's opinions, and also too much about these imaginary future scenarios that they simulate in their mind. And this disease of the mind is concisely captured by the Stoic philosopher Seneca. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. But telling someone, you've just got to care less, stop caring so much, is pretty useless, it's vague, and it's not helpful advice. What does it mean to care too much about something? Why is this something we should care about, and how do we actually change this? Well, firstly, we need to identify what this actually looks like. Awareness is the prerequisite of control, and so we need to become aware of, diagnose the symptoms of caring too much so that we can change them. And there's really four main manifestations. The first one is chronic overthinking instead of action. You see, the vast majority of people, I would assume the vast majority of you watching this video, including myself, if I'm really being honest, think more than we take action. We lean into thought first and then action second. It's this incessant need to simulate the future and worry about it and ruminate about the past. In some way, we think this might solve our problems. Of course it won't, but it's this thinking is safe. There are no risks to thinking. There are no consequences. You don't have to take accountability for your thoughts, unlike your actions. And so a lot of people like to think because it's safe. And that's a symptom of someone who cares too much about their goal and they're too emotionally dependent on it. The second symptom is waiting to feel ready before starting. Most people live in this idea of which is called the fallacy of the perfect pick, and this manifests itself in so many different ways. The most significant one that I see is everybody's looking for the best business model, the best niche, the best strategy, the best sales script. It's always looking for the best, the first time around. It's this idea that if you wait long enough, you will have the clarity, the certainty, the confidence to start. But of course, the reality is you get those things through taking action, through starting. You'll never actually truly feel ready. And this is sort of another illusion that plagues the mind of someone who cares too much. Thirdly, and these really all tie into each other, 1, 2, and 3, is this need to constantly plan, theorize, and learn. Now, these things in isolation aren't necessarily bad things. In fact, they're necessary. You need to plan, you need to learn, but in conjunction with action. You see, a lot of people like to plan instead of action. They plan and theorize before they take action, where your plan should actually come after action. You take action, you get feedback from that action. Based off that feedback, you can create a plan. Most of you are planning and theorizing what you're going to do before you take action. These plans die at first contact because you have no idea what you're planning if you've never actually done it. And a lot of people fall into this trap. Why? Because they care too much. They're living in fear, they're too emotionally dependent, and therefore they plan, they learn, they theorize, they do anything but action. Fourthly, or the fourth one and finally, is emotional spirals over small events. Something small happens, you get rejected, you have a moment of embarrassment, something doesn't quite go your way. It doesn't have to be that major, but somehow you find yourself in this emotional spiral of doubt and anxiety and fear and despair and hopelessness and anger, whatever the flavor of emotion it is for you. It can be different for different people, but the point is you're not very emotionally resilient, especially when it comes off, when it's in relation to achieving this goal that you care too much about. Again, this is a really important symptom. Now, the reality is everybody cares too much. If you're really being honest with yourself, humble and introspective, all four of these, at least to some extent, relate to you, because I care too much, you care too much, everybody cares too much because, well, it's primal programming. From an evolutionary perspective, it served us to analyze every single variable in our environment, the risks, the rewards, the threats, but specifically identifying those threats and those risks and essentially avoiding them, exposing them and avoiding them, playing it as small as possible. Survival and vigilance served us in the Serengeti 200,000 years ago, but brought over to a modern context, this obsession, this unhealthy caring about or over caring doesn't necessarily serve us in the modern context. Overthinking, stagnation, analysis paralysis, all of those sorts of things come along with it. But is that really the case? Wouldn't you think, well, if I care more about something, I'm more in control, and therefore I can control the outcomes better? Does that not make sense? Well, some have suggested that argument, but fortune doesn't favor the safe. It favors the bold. You see, when you try to control everything, you are minimizing your exposure to uncertainty and risk, because you can't control things that are out of your control. Risk and uncertainty is by definition outside of your control, but is required to achieve any level of success. You see, to really make progress, you need to be bold. You need to let speed be your ally, be decisive, and have a tolerance for uncertainty, which the chronic overthinker, the chronic person who cares too much can't do this. And why this is so damaging can be seen very clearly in Aldous Huxley's The Law of Reverse Effect. Now, Aldous Huxley was an English writer, and I guess you could say philosopher as well. And I can't take credit for this, but really, the law states the harder you try to achieve something, the more likely it is the opposite happens. So excessive effort leads to internal resistance. Pressure builds up, and this pressure, this desperation, it ultimately creates separation from the outcome that you are trying to achieve. Now, it's important to say effort alone isn't the issue. It's excessive effort. It's excessive thought. It's stuff that isn't required. It's this white knuckling. It's this trying to consciously control every single variable. Overthinking, analysis paralysis. It's this desperation that comes with a dependency on the outcome of the goal. It's this need for it to happen. And when you're in this state, you enter what is known as survival mode. This means you enter a high beta brainwave state. Now, that isn't some pseudoscience thing. You see, there's something called an EEG, where we can measure brainwaves in the, essentially, what we're looking at here is neurons firing. And high beta is when the brain is firing at a very high clip, and often very incoherently. The neurons are fired very scattered. This is when we are in survival mode. We're focused on the here and now. It's this synonymous with fight or flight. This state is incredibly difficult to make any sort of progress towards any sort of difficult goal for two reasons. Firstly, is your automatic success mechanism is blocked. The ASM, or the automatic success mechanism, is this model, I think first presented by Maxwell Maltz, which is this idea of the unconscious system that actually works on your behalf to solve problems and come up with good decisions based off the goal you're trying to optimize for. Now, the ASM isn't something that actually exists in the mind. It's a model that we can follow. The ASM isn't an actual circuit or a system, but it is, the brain acts as if it is. So it's a model that we can use, and it's very useful. But what happens when we're in high beta, in this fight or flight, this survival mode, is your automatic success mechanism is blocked, as in the unconscious forces that are working on your behalf and you don't even realize it. It's when you get those flashes of insight, creativity. This is all coming from the unconscious mind, which is far more powerful than your ability to white knuckle and consciously control everything. You see, when you're in survival mode, you're trying to consciously control everything, and therefore those unconscious systems take a back seat because they're not required in survival mode. Survival mode is what's going on right now. You don't have time or energy for deeper, broader thinking. Think again about that evolutionary context. Why would the unconscious systems be firing when you're in survival mode? The second problem here is flow state is blocked. When you're in this stage, you can't enter optimal states like flow because flow happens when your attention is absorbed in the task, not the reward. Flow doesn't mix with desperation. This state of needing, caring too much, creates desperation. Desperation creates separation. You cannot access flow states. You cannot access the present moment when you're constantly worrying about the future. That's fairly simple. And so, really, being in this state of need, desperation, and caring too much is obviously very detrimental to trying to achieve the goal. The solution here is simple. Take the required action. I'm not saying don't take action. In fact, I'm emphasizing it more. Think less, do more. Take the required action, and that may be a lot of action. It may be a lot of effort, it may be a lot of hard work. But once you do the required action, step back, forget about it. Your role is done. Don't try and control everything that's not in your control and is not supposed to be controlled through thought or through analysis or through worry. Whatever your mechanism is, you try and control everything. Forget about it and just step back. This is a principle that's found in the Taoist philosophy and religion, known as Wu Wei. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it can be loosely translated to effortless action, being like water and just flowing with the river. Take the action and let the river carry you down. All of this unnecessary desperation and attachment and trying too hard, excessive thought is hurting you. You're getting stuck. You're fighting against what is known as the way in this Taoist philosophy and religion, but ultimately you're fighting against your own interests. You're getting in your own way. It's unnecessary, it's excessive. But I want to be very clear, I'm not talking about the law of detachment here. It can sound like a very similar topic, this idea of detaching or removing your desire from a certain thing. This is not what I'm talking about. I don't know who came up with the law of detachment, where it comes from. I'm not a big fan of it. I don't know if that is disappointing for anybody, but let me explain. My assessment of law of detachment is they're saying desire is the enemy here. Attachment is the enemy. And I think this is zero sum. I don't think this captures the nuance properly. Because, of course, desire is what is required for a human to take action. Desire gives us an incentive to take action. If we do not want something, if we do not desire it, we will not take action toward it. There is a balance here. There's a difference between needing something and wanting something. Desire isn't the enemy, it is where it's rooted. You see, if you want something, that's fine. You can want it, you can be attached to it, you can desire it. Needing it is where it's the problem. It's this excessive emotional dependency, this overthinking, this caring about it too much, which creates inaction. And so it's kind of double-edged. If you don't care enough, you stop caring at all, you take no action. But if you care too much, you also take no action. So there's sort of a Goldilocks zone here, a middle ground, a balance. Wanting the goal, not needing it, and not relinquishing desire altogether. And so I'm not talking about the law of detachment. I'm skeptical you can even get rid of your attachments in the first place, but even if you could, you wouldn't take any action. Need desire is when you care too much. So the target isn't to stop wanting here. It's to stop needing. It's where the desire is rooted. This is how we care less, because caring less allows us to access this effortless state of action. Taking the required action and stepping back, enjoying your life instead of worrying about every single variable. And so there are 3 tools that we're going to go through, 3 practical tools which you can use today to care less. How does one care less? Well, the first tool is known as the present principle. Now, I don't often do this, read straight off my companion document, but I came up with these summaries a couple months ago, and I think they really do concisely capture what these principles and perspectives give you. So I will read them through. The present principle. Most suffering comes from living in imagined time, replaying the past or fearing the future, neither of which you can ever interact with. When you return attention to the present moment, your responsibility collapses to what is directly in front of you, which is always manageable. This removes unnecessary emotional load and makes action effortless because most care was never about now. Most people, when they care too much, they're worrying about the future or they're ruminating on the past. What you must understand is the past and the future are known as illusions of time. They're not actually real. We cannot access the past or the future. Our experience of the past is through thought. Our experience of the future is again through thought. It's imagination. The past and the future are just thoughts that arise in the present moment. And so the present moment is always waiting for you. It's always here. It will never leave you for as long as you're alive. And so when you access the present moment, you can access a state of certainty. Why? Well, because if you really think about it, the present moment is infinitely small. It's tiny. It's infinitely small. It's this moment you can't even touch, but you're existing in it. You can feel it. And with this infinitely small point of responsibility, it becomes a whole lot more manageable. All you're responsible for is what's going on right now. Nothing else is in your control. Nothing else is something you should be responsible for. And so many people allocate so much energy to trying solving the past or the future, but they are not real. All that is going on is right now, and that's all you're responsible for. From that, you can take certainty, because your certainty in your ability to just show up right now is high. And from this certainty, when you're certain that you can do something, you no longer have desperation for it. Why would you be desperate for something you know for a fact that you will get? And that's how we go from need to want, from caring too much to caring just enough. The second tool we can use is known as the mortality principle, memento mori. A lot of the Stoic philosophers, Greek and Roman, I think popularized by Socrates, looked at death a lot. Remember you must die is the line that I think came out famously. Remembering that you will die strips false importance from outcomes, opinions, and delays. When you truly understand that time is finite, procrastination and perfectionism become irrational. Impermanence doesn't make life bleak. It makes action urgent and caring excessive. You see, most people live their life as if they are immortal. Now, of course, we know intellectually that we are not immortal, but most people live as if they are. They procrastinate and they don't take advantage of time. They don't let time be their ally. In fact, they fight against it. Understanding and remembering that you actually will die, you are mortal, you are here for a very short amount of time, is empowering. It may sound bleak, it may sound grim, but it's empowering and it allows you to cut through what actually matters. A lot of people caring too much is caring on things that don't actually matter. Outcomes, opinions of other people, delays. But if you remind yourself that I'm not here forever and it's going quicker than I could ever imagine and I will die, cuts through the noise into what actually matters. And best believe the things that you're worrying about, the things that you care too much about, other people's opinions, yourself, those imagined simulated future simulations that I mentioned at the start, these don't matter when you really truly realize you're not here forever and you're mortal. So stop pretending like you are immortal. Remind yourself that you will die a lot. Your mortality. Think about it and you really unlock this level of liberation and empowerment. The third one, known as the cosmic perspective, plays into this as well. The second and the third sort of tie into each other, this idea of impermanence, but it goes a bit broader. The cosmic perspective, zooming out far enough, reveals how insignificant you are in the grand scale of the universe. And that's liberating. In a few hundred years, you will be forgotten along with all your fears, failures, ambitions, desires, which makes taking life so seriously almost comedic. When you see life as absurd rather than grave, you stop overvaluing judgment and start moving freely. The cosmic perspective is something very powerful. It's something that I got, or I learned about last year, and I really realized how absurd life really is. Think about it. No one knows why they're actually here. Well, they can say, well, I was born because my mum and dad, whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. Why are you, as an individual, conscious? Why are you here? Why are you aware of your existence? These are questions that perhaps people have theories for, but no one knows for a fact why they are here. And that just seems to be glossed over. Everyone's sort of playing this imaginary role. They're pretending as if they know what they're doing, but no one can answer this fundamental question of why they're actually here. That's absurd. It's almost comedic. And from that, you can take a bit of liberation. Nothing is that serious. Nobody really knows what's going on. And just from that, you can take a bunch of liberation. No one knows what's going on. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to be embarrassed. It's okay to get things wrong and fail. Because we're only here once. You will be forgotten. And this is all impermanent. There's no permanent record. You can try stuff. You can fail. And nobody, in the grand scheme of things, including the universe, cares about you. Nobody. And that should liberate you. That should allow you to care less. Do what you want to do. Take the required action and step back. Be like water. Follow that Taoist principle. So 1, 2, and 3, the present principle, the mortality principle, and the cosmic perspective, allow you to live life on your own terms. Forget about what other people think or what they don't think or their opinions. And it ultimately allows you to reach a state of liberation. From that, we can take the required action down the river. And we don't have to fall prey to the law of reverse effect that Aldous Huxley famously pointed out. If you found this lesson valuable, it's your lucky day, because what I'm going to do now on screen is my full free course. Now, I know course raises red flags, but no, this is a free YouTube video, over 2 hours of the best stuff I know condensed into a single lesson. It's an absolute game changer. I'll see you in there. Godspeed.